how'd you get here?
I want to talk a little bit about the history of this game's release, because that realistically plays a massive role in the way that people view this experience and the reason that a lot of people hate it as much as they do, because this was the next big mainline Sonic game post, Sonic Gens, which means there was a giant bar to clear, very, very, very high bar to clear, and this game just didn't even try. It completely switched up the entire formula, and that's kind of why a lot of people really, really dislike it, because the context of release is, still relatively fresh. This game's, it's getting older, but within the community subconscious, it still is a relatively recent wound, and I think that in and of itself is probably a big reason that people treat this game the way they do. Same thing with Sonic Forces. That game, it's not very good. And I'm not gonna argue that it's fucking peak, or not even that it's fun. It can be fun if you turn your brain off and just if you don't think about it, being an actual game that was designed by real humans, and it's more so just this fucking creature that just sits there, and you can play it if you want to, I guess. There are 2 or 3 levels you could go back to that are kind of fun, and my point is a lot of people really hate that mid-ass game and will call it worse than Sonic 06. Personally, not a take that I agree with, but people will call it worse than Sonic 06 because that wound, what it did to the community is so fresh that I think people are having a very hard time viewing it in a more, I suppose, objective way. A lot of the way that the game is viewed is still deeply rooted in that, I guess, this is gonna sound very I jerk myself off to academia type of shit, but but it's very rooted in this cultural subtext, this community cultural subtext of the time, and that's kind of why a lot of people dislike it, and this game is very much suffering from a very similar thing. I would argue this game deserves a little more love than Forces, because it actually does way more things right and is a flat-out more enjoyable experience and a more well-designed experience in a lot of different ways, but I guess that's an argument for another time. But generally, very much the context of its release is still, to a degree, I don't want to say poisoning the water, because it's still valid to sit down and view this game based on the perspective of it releasing yesterday, the perspective of what it did culturally, right, and what it did for the community. And I guess what we lost because this was the next big mainline Sonic game. We didn't get the next big boost formula game. They didn't sit down, and we didn't get Sonic X Shadow Generations until fucking eons later, because they fucking ruined it, because they started over from frame 1, brick 1, had to rebuild it brick by brick, and there are a lot of people that still very much feel that anger. And that's fine. You can rate the game within that subtext, with that cultural subtext in mind, but also I think that needs to be something that's very much thrown out there, frame 1, something that's made clear to people, because a lot of people will just say this game is flat out dog shit and then not really explain their point. Holy frames. I'm so sorry. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you can tell, but before we get back into that conversation, I am playing with a new model. Wow, Adventure Sonic, wowie woo wow, because 3D spin bash back, whatever. Yeah, I am trying to switch up the model every single video we do. I don't know if we're gonna stick with that, because there are 2.5 skins for this game. But hey, we'll see, bro. We'll see. This is definitely one of the more fun ones that I was thinking about using outside of Sonic's Rio Sonic. So that's why it's here. Frame 2, second episode of the series. So yeah, there's that. But back to the actual interesting conversation. Oh, by the way, this level also really fucks. I really like it. It's just so fun. I know it's visually kind of boring, but there's so much stuff you can do, and there's so much open space for you to play around with the moveset, and there's a lot of stuff going on that forces you to interact with a lot of really interesting, cool platforming. It's just overall a really good level, and I think we don't really start seeing really just any shitty levels until probably World 3. I think World 3 is where we start to see some levels that are alright. Like, let's be so fucking for real right now. Or you're seriously doing this to me right now? You're seriously punching me in the fucking stomach like this? And there are still winners in World 3. I still think there are fun levels to be had. But like, that's where I think we get the big hit, right? World 1 and 2, I honestly think are super fucking fun. And there's not a single level that I think I would consider bad or would fall in line with the kind of, I don't know, the complaints about gimmicky level design that a lot of people throw out. So generally, World 1, World 2, these are going to be insanely fun. And there are, you know, again, more levels that are amazing in the future that I think are just as good as the levels that we see in World 1 and 2. However, we do start to see some of them crop up that are like just not, God, they're not ideal. And that's where a lot of the icky bullshit comes in. We're gonna kind of get into the weeds, and I won't be glazing the game as heavy because we're gonna be talking about how this level fucking sucks because I have to run around with fruits or whatever. Which, oh my god, bro. I'll talk about it when we get to it, but holy shit, man. That one level has fucking ruined any discussion around this game because it is easily one of the worst stages in the game. And it consistently gets brought up. And it's like, I get it, bro. It's one of the worst fucking stages in the game. What about all the fucking cool ones, though? Like, we're really gonna sit here and take this one fucking stinker and then shit-talk the entire game for it? Or I guess, like, there were maybe, like, 5 stinker stages or something. I don't know, bro. Fucking whatever. We'll get to it. But, like, back to what I was saying. back, reining in my ADHD mind and getting back to what I was saying. I very much believe that, you know, a lot of conversation around this game is very culturally, contextually, historically based, if you will. And that's great, that's awesome. Clarify that if that's part of what your distaste for this game is. Because that's fine, that's great. Keep in mind, 90% of people that pick up this game now, right? And I tend to view games through the lens of like a new player. Are new players going to enjoy this? What is the what is the vibe going to be for someone if they pick it up today, right? Because I think it helps me view it in a more general, more like, I guess, broad context rather than being very entrenched in like fandom ideology, if you will, which can just, oh my god. Depending on how much you know about the fucking blue blur, depending on how much you know about this goddamn rat, bro, it can really completely alter the way you view the quality of games. Because, like, if you know a fuckload about heroes and, like, shit, bro, there's a lot of Sonic games that do not deserve the glazing they get, or do not deserve the hate that they get. But because you are so deeply entrenched in the blue blur as like a community thing, and like you've known them for years or whatever, it alters your perspective, bro. It alters your entire perspective. So I don't know. I personally enjoy viewing it within the context of like a new player, a more general average gamer, and I feel like if you don't provide the fact that yes, you are basing this off of the context of a Sonic fan who was alive and well during the effectively 9/11 for Boost fans, like, just it makes it a little, I suppose, misleading, right? Because you're not really talking about the quality of the game necessarily, you're more so talking about the historical context of it, which again, that's fine. You can still use that to rate the game on a personal scale. That's totally valid. But like, I don't know. I think it just makes things a little more complex than people make it out to be, right? And it's definitely an aspect of it. And I don't think it's worth dismissing. But you also gotta make it clear that that's shit you're talking about and shit you're taking into consideration. Otherwise, it's just like, again, the waters get muddied. Shit gets complicated, shit gets convoluted. I guess at the end of the day, as long as you're like saying the things that you feel and the things that you're rating the game based off of, it doesn't really fucking it doesn't really matter. But, you know, whatever. Oh my god, different people with different perspectives and shit. It's so stupid. Why can't we be a hive mind, bro? Why can't we be a hive mind society where we're all neuro-linked together and we like share the exact same bandwidth, so only like one person can think about Sonic at a time, so we all share the exact same fucking neurodivergent brain. God, that would make life so much easier. That sounds a little like for lack of a better term. That was a little too eugenicsy for me, bro. That was a little too like homogeneous society better. Anyways, Neuralink hive mind is coming in 2026 or whatever. Trust me, I swear. Elon's gonna get that shit out, and we're finally gonna get our grubby little mitts on it. And the second you pick it up, it's gonna like burrow into your skin like a goddamn. I don't what burrows. Some bug that burrows. It'll burrow into your skin and then it'll fucking sit there for the rest of your life. Oh, by the way, this level I see a lot of people struggle with because this is where the game starts to ask you to not only understand, yes, there's a degree of parkour here, but much less than that, or I guess much more evident than that, something that they ask you to focus on way more, is the difference between homing, attacking, and kicking, which is something I haven't talked about yet. I hear a lot of conversation about the homing attack and how it isn't interesting, it's this one fucking button combo, and then that's it, that's stupid, that sucks, whatever. How do you make it more interesting when it's literally just a button press to deal with an enemy? Is it too brain dead? Is there no way to fix it? How do you change this fucking mechanic to be perfect? And I really think it's as simple as what this game and what games like Sonic X Shadow Generations do. It is genuinely that simple, where you add just one different way to interact with enemies, so you still have to think about, oh fuck, this enemy reacts this way, I should kick him or I should normally homing attack him. Oh, this enemy reacts this way, in the case of Sonic X Shadow Generations, I should homing attack him or I should use a spear and then homing attack him, right? I genuinely think something as simple as that is enough to make it a more interesting mechanic and enough to make it so you have to think about how you're interacting with enemies. And it's not hard, bro. You don't have to dismantle the entire fucking system. It's not that deep. It is actually very, very, very easy to make it function in a way that is complex enough to provide like a lot of interesting skilled play while still not completely gutting what it is, right? So that's my personal takeaway. I really, really, really like the kick as a system. I really think it's awesome to have an ability that will, one, depending on the enemy you're kicking, right? You'll need to kick them, so you'll need to think about what enemy does what. But then also, if you kick an enemy that doesn't need to be kicked, it'll shoot them backwards, and sometimes they can fuck up like homing attack chains. So if you are trying to use enemies as a homing attack chain, you need to be a little more careful about, oh fuck, alright, I need a homing attack on these guys, I can't kill them with a kick, it's just gonna fucking kill everyone in their line of sight, holy shit. Or if you want to deal with a lot of enemies that are in a homing attack chain, and then do something like I did in this, where like there was a homing attack chain, I kicked, killed everyone there, and then I still was in the perfect position to just pull back on the analog stick a little bit and then land perfectly on these animal capsules. And by the way, oh my god, the flicky conversation, this is something I've been avoiding because it feels very like entrenched in personal experiences. I've never had an issue with them. I'm not saying that like the flicky mechanic is good, nor am I saying I hope they bring it back. No, it's a fucking padding tool. It's bad. It's a flat out bad mechanic. It should not be brought back in any capacity ever, bro. Keep that shit in the fucking drafts. Never bring it back. However, it is not as big of a fucking deal as people make it out to be. It is very, 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 very easy, as long as you aren't playing the game with one hand and jerking off with the other one, to not have to worry about flickies in your entire playthrough. As long as you are not actively avoiding literally every single enemy, as long as you are not actively avoiding every single animal capsule that you see, it is so unbelievably easy to completely ignore literally every single fucking requirement. And I'm not just talking about the PC version, because there is a difference between the PC and Wii U version. Because the PC version doesn't have like these little animal circus things where you would use the Wii U gamepad effectively to play a quick mini game and you get like a fuck ton of animals, like you get 300 to 400 animals in one go, right? Because we don't have that anymore, they lowered the animal requirements to be honestly about the same difficulty to get, where, you know, they're not like, you can't just like run through stages and ignore everything and then expect to get through them, but also they're not hard to get. And if you're playing normally, it'll be fine. I had 500 animals, bro. 500. You've seen my gameplay. I haven't done any off-screen grinding or anything. I haven't done any of the fucking DLC stages that you have to mod in. I haven't done any of that shit, bro. It is so unbelievably easy to get these requirements that it's a non-issue. It is actively a non-issue that will never impact your playthrough. It'll impact your playthrough a little more if you're playing the Wii U version because, hey, you have to stop and you have to do a minigame every once in a while that takes 5 seconds. It's a little annoying, but it's nowhere even close to the thing that it gets compared to the most, which is the Sun and Moon medals, where, like, you have to run back through entire stages and hunt for these fucking things. No. No. You do not have to run back through a single stage if you don't want to on a normal playthrough of any of the versions of these games, unless you're fucking crazy and you have been ignoring everything. If you've been ignoring every single one of these fucking capsules I'm jumping on, yeah, no shit, bro. You haven't been interacting with one of the systems of the game. Yes, you're gonna have to go back and fucking grind out for this shit because you haven't been thinking about it at all. But, like, getting these animal capsules, they're so in your way, it's, like, actually unbelievable to me that some people could ignore it effectively enough to have to worry about running back through stages again. It is so easy to not have to do that. And, you know, again, the Wii U version's a little more difficult. Everybody shits. Everybody shits. You didn't see that one. You didn't see that shit. Look, oh my god, holy shit. I also know that people complain about this stage because it's an auto-scroller, but I feel like with this form of control feel with Sonic, I actually don't mind auto-scrollers that much. They're still not the best fit for Sonic, but I actually still do like this level. I think there's a lot of fun little platforming you can do. I really like the way that they incentivize you to take top routes by not only the red star rings, but also making the top routes made out of animal capsules, which makes it kind of like smaller platforms you have to deal with, and it's cool, bro. It's cool. I really fuck with it. But hey, whatever. Someone's gonna disagree with me, and then I'm gonna sit there with my hands in my fucking head and hands, and then cry. Did that make any fucking... Did that make any goddamn sense, bro? Oh my god, I'm starting to lose it. I don't know if you can tell, I'm a little under the weather, brother. I'm a little under the weather, so my mind is very much flying from frame 1 to frame 2 to frame 3, all over the place, bro. All over the fucking place. But my point is, bro, right, the flickies are not a problem. I'm very surprised we complain about them as much as we do. It is very much padding oriented. I agree with that 1000%. But the only time it becomes even remotely a quote-unquote problem is when you are trying to unlock bonus stages, which at that point it's like they're bonus stages. The game's going to require you to use some form of padding to unlock these generally. That tends to be how it goes. And I've never had an issue with them. Ever. Flat out, ever. I have had issues with Sun and Moon medal requirements sometimes in, like, the Wii version of Unleashed. I don't remember when or where because I haven't played that game in fucking years. But, like, never had a problem with this one. Even as a fucking wee lad that played this game when he was, just free out of his father's ballsack, like, I never had a problem. So I'm very, 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 very surprised that mentality has kind of stuck around. Because, like, I get a lot of other complaints about the gameplay, because again, this falls in line with effectively the Heroes problem, where it doesn't explain anything to you. It doesn't tutorialize itself well at all. And I absolutely understand why people would be tweaking out about the gameplay style and saying the parkour's ass, whatever, because the game doesn't really teach it to you. And if you're playing the game normally and you don't really experience a lot of this shit, right? Yeah, bro, like if you're not super autistic about Sonic like I am, then yeah, bro. Like, I get it. You're not gonna sit down and fucking slam your head into a wall and figure out the parkour, and that's totally fine. That type of shit I understand. I flat out do not get the flicky thing at all. I don't get it. That genuinely feels like a holdover from an era of, like, YouTube reviews that saw an ounce of Unleashed in the game, which, by the way, people fucking hated even back then. I know we've switched up on it recently, bro. Remember, people used to hate that shit. When they saw any DNA of that shit in a Sonic game, they started fucking tweaking. They ripped off their shirt like Superman, except for instead of a fucking S symbol underneath, it was the werehog with a cross eye on him. A little cross in the middle. My brain's not working too good. But like, you get what I'm saying, right? They were the Supermans of hating on fucking Sonic Unleashed. So when they saw any amount of like bad DNA from Sonic Unleashed, oh my god, bro. Oh my god, the waterworks came out. They started pissing and shitting and coming everywhere, bro. The entire waterworks, every single pipe in their body started leaking. So like, I feel like it's really a criticism and a concern that's a holdover from that era. And also, if you're complaining about the Wii U requirements, which again, I don't think were a big issue, why? I mean, at this point, people can't fucking buy that version of the game. Why does it matter? The Wii U version is obsolete. You can't buy it. The Wii U eShop is down. The PC version is the version of Lost World now. Talk about it based on that. Also, I like this cutscene. I actually really like it. It's really cool. I might get hate for that, but I really fuck with it.